All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Coons at the Wellness Radio TV. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. We are live in our studio here in Gainesville, Florida, but I'm very pleased to have as my special guest today Mr. Roger Kelly, who is the founder and former pastor of Word Covenant Ministries.
Word Covenant Church.
Word Covenant Church. In Orlando, Florida, and he made the trip here today. He's going to be speaking tonight at an event at Coconut Salon and Barber Shop called Shop Talk. People getting together. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And as I was talking to Mr. Kelly, who is a theologian, a business person, financial planner, and the author of a book, 8 Pillars of Lifetime Sanity. And he said to me, everything that we do leads to health and wellness, and I definitely agree with that. So thank you very much for being here.
It is my pleasure. Appreciate the work that you're doing. I've been following you so.
Oh, well, thank you. All the way from that's the beauty of the internet today.
It is.
That everything that we do is not just in the local area, but it's worldwide. And this interview and other interviews with Roger Kelly will be able to be heard on At the Wellness Network. You just go to At the Wellness Network and click on the little triangle that says what's playing now. And then you can listen to many of the shows and music on At the Wellness Network. Tonight you're here specifically accepting our invitation to talk to men, families, about domestic violence, and I probably should have included that in the heading, and I will.
Okay.
Domestic violence, I doubt that there's anybody who can say that they don't know someone who has either experienced or knows someone who has experienced domestic violence. And this book, 8 Pillars of Lifetime Sanity, if no one's ever been in it, then it's insane to think that someone would stay in a relationship where that's happening.
Right.
Yet I'm someone who thank God, was able to get out alive, because there are women who are dying every day in this country because of domestic violence. How is it that you feel like what you've written here in these pages is applicable to addressing the human emotion and the lack of sanity that would cause one person to think that they should punch another person?
Well, I really believe I would talk about this many, many years ago, that from specifically on the male side of abuse, it is a sign that men are not men from the inside out. They're trying to be men from the outside in. And to really be a man, we have to get back and look at that. It ties back into wellness, because it means to be a leader with a gentle heart. Temperance is a part of being a man. And if I am not feeling good about myself, then I have to dominate and try to derive my value through exercising authority over others.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the book addresses, and it's not just for men, but really for all of us, is we ask the question, how are you? And we say, fine. And we use that all the time. The problem is many people are not fine. Many are struggling, coping with the issues of life, the pressure. There are some unfair advantages that we find ourselves in. And we have to take the time to make sure that we take care of ourselves, whatever that is.
In the questions posed at the beginning of this video, when we talk about how we feel about ourselves, you see that as directly relating to how we see the God that we say we serve, the Alpha and the Omega, the
Absolutely.
beginning and the end. We say all of that.
Right,
Yet, how can our lives be in turmoil if we believe that?
right, right. Well, I think,
We don't believe it, or
well,
we don't know who He is.
I think that we've reduced God to a mental construct in our minds. Everybody has this picture, when the Bible talks about idolatry and graven images, we think about little things, set up, but an image is something that mainly that is in your mind. And so what happens is we take an infinite, omnipotent, omnipresent, um, omniscient God, and we reduce him to a mental construct in our head. And we do that to fit him into what we need. God comes into my life. I don't step into God's life. I mean, it's just a way that we see things. And so I think that the problem is we don't, the way we approach God, I think, is problematic.
So, the way we approach God, in that and you said something that the moment that we think we know who God is when we have limited or formed an idolatry image?
What I said is that the moment that we think that our perspective of God is God, we create a problem because he's reduced to a mental construct. Go back to scriptures. One of the things that God did with Moses is he had a bush on fire and it wasn't being burned with an angel in it talking to him. Now, why would God do that? Because, well, Moses had to be mentally, that wasn't it. He kept trying to say, who am I going to tell him sent you? God says, tell him I am that I am. You can't explain me. You have to experience me.
Can't explain me, you have to experience me.
Now, we use language and we conversate, but we have to remember those are guideposts and pointers, but there's nothing, I still remember the night I committed my life to Christ. I could not explain it. People ask me, what happened to you? And I said, I really can't explain everything, but it was like a weight lifted off of my life. I could see the sky, I saw the star. It's just where I was cluttered with a lot of stuff as a young man. And my life was really transformed in that experience. Later, my studies kind of taught me what had happened to me. And so I know that, God is real in my life. And I know he's bigger than any thought I could ever have. So I'm always open, and that's part of what faith is all about.
Yeah, I think we get so tied up. Commissioner Wilford, thank you for watching some of those I can see. Hey, Lori. We're talking to author, theologian, business coach Roger Kelly from Orlando, Florida, who's going to be speaking to a group tonight on domestic violence. But as we think about this relationship with God, and you saying that what God is and what God does can do is really inconceivable, but if we try to conceive it, then we're going to be basing it on our limited understanding.
Right.
So how, if the bush is burning and it doesn't burn up, physiologically there's no explanation for that.
Exactly.
So don't try to understand it. As they say, let go and let God. How do you get people to that place? God
suspended his understanding. So it's not that we don't use our understanding. That's why we study the Bible, we read, so learning is very, very important. But it leads on a path of a relationship. And I think that's the thing. Jesus said, I'm the door. He didn't say I'm the house. I am the door. No man comes in. Well, if you're going to experience the house, that's more of a relational thing, and that comes from walking over time. The Bible talks about Enoch, who God took.
Yes.
But Enoch it wasn't that he knew everything about God. Enoch walked with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a relationship. And that
And there was not a burial for Enoch.
right. But right, the Lord took him.
The Lord just took him.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I want to go. Where's Pamela? Last seen walking with God. Isn't that wonderful?
Beautiful, beautiful.
For people who are listening, watching, thinking about their challenges, and one of the ways, Pastor Kelly, that I have that has helped me understand how to let go of things, because my daddy used to quote this scripture many times: surely as a man is born, he's born into trouble. Don't stop being shocked when things happen. And you've gone to theologian school, you've gone to college and high school and all that kind of stuff. And when we are given a test in school, we are taught to sit down and try to figure out the answers to the test.
Right, right.
You know the revelation that God gave me one day?
What's that?
When I give you a test, the way you pass this test is just give it back.
Wow. Beautiful.
Now that's freedom. You don't know how it's going to be resolved, and it's irrelevant. It's not your place to figure out how it's going to be resolved. It's incomprehensible for you to figure out how God is going to resolve something. But if you will just give it back, you'll make a 100 on that test.
I like to say it an additional way, and that's part of what the 8 pillars of lifetime sanity is about. It's about living in the present moment. We're told that we have between 30 to 50,000 thoughts a day, and most of those are recycled regrets about the past, concerns about the present, fears about the future, and there's just this continual thing that goes on. So we live our lives being somewhere but not being there. When we're at work, we're not there, we're somewhere else. When we should be off, we're not there, we're somewhere else. When we are with our loved ones, we're not there. We're, one of the greatest things you can give a person is your presence. But the present moment is that place where we learn to calm our own minds and be in the moment, because what that does is that allows who we really are to begin to arise. And most of us are not really living, I'm not going to say most, many are not living an authentic life. We're kind of trapped in that maze of repetitive stuff that goes on and on. And so
you say we're not living our authentic lives. Explain to people, hello Asa Duncan, explain to people what you're talking about, because you also think that identifying what your purpose is still not the most significant thing of this journey. That's limiting too. When you think
when you
assume what your purpose is, it limits. And so if you get so focused on that, then you don't leave yourself open for God to grow you into another place.
Or we'll argue with God. He'll inspire us to do something. We'll argue that we can't. Why?
Moses.
Because the concept that we have about ourselves in our head. But I think that, again, coming really back to that present moment, it's really about being in a quiet place, not necessarily noiseless, but free from all of the thoughts. Let me give you an example. I was leaving Atlanta several years ago, and it was such an ominous day. It was dark. It was like midday, but it was almost black like night. I could not even see out of the plane window, barely. And as we and I was surprised we would fly out in that. And so we backed out and we taxied down the runway and we went down and took off. It was a rough going up, but there was some turbulence. But then, so I sat back and just relaxed, closed my eyes. All of a sudden, light, shined in my face. And I looked out of my window and it was like a black blanket had covered Atlanta. The sun was still out, but the clouds made it appear like it was really a bad day. The Lord spoke to me then. He said, many times our thinking, our assumptions, our fears cloud our life, and we can't see the sun shining.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And so
Wow.
so when things clear out, we can really see things as they are. Listen, God created you a beautiful person. You are a wonder, and to and you're an original. There's no fingerprints like yours. There's nobody else like you on the earth, period. What you do or don't do in your lifetime will never be done by anybody else, because nobody can do it like you can do it.
Wow.
And so so to be authentic is to give way. If we're busy trying to be like others, if we're busy running with our fears or trying to search for happiness outside, we'll live our lives in a rut. But to come in that place of acceptance, acceptance of God's power, acceptance of His peace, acceptance of who we are, and work from there, then just like a small seed begins to unfold, miracles can happen in our lives.
So when you talk about you were on the plane lifted you up above the cloud. How is it that when you say that people, hello, Auntie Bert and Uncle Lois and Gary, Indiana, when you talk about people being enveloped with the darkness of whatever a situation is, how do we break out of that?
There is a simple exercise in chapter 2 of this manual. It's about a page and a half. What it talks to you about doing is stopping where you are, taking a couple of deep breaths, and relaxing and shifting your attention to your breathing. Feeling the cool air come in and the warm air leaving. And if thoughts are there, they can be there, but you don't get caught up in them because you shift your attention back to your breath. That changes the rate of vibration in our thinking.
Well, let me tell you, for somebody who may be saying, hello, Shanti Bell, if I'm reading that correctly, and I can't see the other name, but I love all of you, and thank you for watching and listening. If I have this challenge in my life, the craziness of a husband, a child, a financial struggle, you telling me to breathe that out? What are you talking about?
What I'm saying is this: it doesn't matter. All the things that we go through, we view our emotions and thoughts as brick walls. Actually, a thought can only last just a few seconds. In fact, for you to really have a bad day from the inside out, you have to recycle the thought that this is an awful day over and over again. If you
because you can shift that thinking,
yes,
and turn that day into a better day.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's the greatest miracle we have is our breath, and we do it every day, but we don't think about
and don't appreciate it.
What I'm suggesting is, and this is not just me, but the doctors are saying the same thing, counselors, the medical field are saying the same thing. It's very healthy to create a space. It's not being irresponsible if you got a lot of things going on. First of all, worrying is not going to help.
No.
Okay?
Right.
But if things settle down, then apart from panicking and fear, you'll begin to know what to do. What you ought to do will begin to arise. You might be one idea away from the financial breakthrough. You might be one thought away from a strategy with your children and family. The problem is, it's like being caught in quicksand. The more you wiggle, that's how they did in the old movies, the deeper you sink. What I'm suggesting is that right now, um, it's a miracle. No matter what's going on, what are you going to do about it? You can worry. You can, um, right now, by practicing this assignment that's in chapter 2, right now, it'll create a shift. Because remember, we talked about the clouds in Atlanta. Storms have an energy about them. And systems usually come together and create a clash, and then a storm is created. Eventually, the energy leaves the storm and it goes away. Our problem is
we give energy
our thoughts,
to it.
By worrying, we keep it alive.
Right.
Who wants a hurricane for 5 years? But we got that going on in our head.
Yeah. If you understand, the other pivotal time in my life was understanding that scripture that said God made man for his good pleasure. So if you are in a situation that's not bringing God good pleasure, then it is time to look at that and go, whew, if it's not for God's good pleasure, then whose good pleasure is it?
Yes.
So that helps me to take a shift, and then to know that we're just passing through here anyway. I'm not at home. So we war not against flesh and blood. So whatever that flesh and blood is doing, or the spirit in that flesh and blood is doing, that doesn't belong to me. I don't have control over it. As the play that I never saw the play, but it made sense to me. Your arms are too short to box with God.
Yes. What we need is wisdom. Wisdom is the principal thing. And so when things are quiet, then wisdom can arise. Solutions come. Wisdom can arise. And so I'm suggesting, no matter what is going on, it doesn't matter, I don't care how dire it looks, to stop and to begin to pay attention to your breath, along with some wisdom and understanding, will create a shift in your life. So there's nothing worse than things going bad and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it just appears to be getting worse, when the answers you need are already inside of you.
You already have everything that you need.
That's the law of capacity.
The law of capacity.
Which is chapter 1 in the book.
I'm talking to Roger Kelly, who is the author of the 8 Pillars of Lifetime Sanity. And he will, hello Reggie Marshall, where are you? How you doing? He will be speaking tonight in Gainesville to a group at Coconut Salon and Barbershop. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's going to be talking about that. But everything you're talking about now, that if we would get centered.
Yes, that's a good, I like that.
Yeah,
That says it.
Get centered and focused on what is really, really important. And you said the solutions we already have. And I remember having a conversation with my son, and I asked him, I said, Brennan, what sense would it make to build a house that wasn't wired for electricity?
Right.
When the codes require it, you get it all built, and what would you do? He said, well, you'd have to tear the walls down and put the wiring in there. I said, exactly. Now, how much sense would that make? Why would God send you here without everything you need?
Beautiful, beautiful.
You can be in the room and it can be dark, but it's wired. You just have to find the light switch.
Absolutely.
And flick it on. And these keys, these pillars of lifetime sanity that you're talking about, to me, are those light switches that just need to be flipped on. Everything that we need for all of the greatness that we have been sent here to do, we already have it. Yes. Higher education is fine, but the wisdom and the seed that God impregnated the sperm and the egg with cannot, as you said, can't be duplicated, and no scholar can put that in your DNA.
That is true. We have to learn and continue to grow, but to know that we've been depreciated so badly by society that we feel that we're not worth anything.
Yeah.
When really, Scripture says we have this treasure in earthen vessels, and I really believe that. I I mean, we are. You are precious. Your life, it's just awesome and amazing, and the potential has no limits. All things are possible through your life. You have to begin to see that, and I think that becomes important.
Right. I think, Pastor, we look at our journey, and it's almost like we go to a college and we look at their curriculum.
Right.
And if they don't offer the course in this curriculum, then we got to take something that's in there because we're going to go to that particular school of higher learning. How limiting is that? Mm-hmm. So, what is your God appointed curriculum? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how do you get in touch with how do you find your God appointed curriculum? Because when you're operating in your God appointed curriculum, that's amazing that everything you need to fulfill that is already with you.
That's a powerful statement and question. My youngest son, I'm the father of 7. Mm-hmm. My youngest son turned 20, I think it was a year ago. Yeah, he's 21 this year. At his little party, one of the things I said to him, now he is a musician. He's down in the Villages playing right now with a couple of bands. He's been at the House of Blues, Disney's House of Blues, since he was 14. He's playing at Eddie V's, a steakhouse in Orlando, one of the premier places. He's teaching lessons. He's done all kinds of things. Keys, drums, guitar, electric, bass, and he's a master of all of it. Plus, he writes, brings everything together. And other groups are now, he's teaching people that are much older than him, and he'll be 21 in December.
Wow.
But I say that when I said to him that everyone was giving him words of wisdom for his life, I said to him, the path which you must go is not scripted. It's not a trip. It's a journey. You will have to find your way. You'll have to walk with God, respond to all of the seasons properly, and get there. Nobody can just tell you, nobody can say do this. You can't be just like someone else. So it kind of unfolds. I mean, who teaches the eagle to fly? The eagles are in the nest and they try their wings, but when they leave, it's do or die. A lot of them must make it. You look at a spider, and I'm not fond of spiders, but you look at how they create a web. I can barely draw a straight line. Who taught them that? Everything in creation, God puts in it the wisdom to fulfill its purpose. And so, yeah.
And I think about even the how the earth is pregnant with all of the vegetation that comes forth. We could leave this building and come back in a few years and it may be a tree growing up through the lobby. Who planted it? And the strength and the ability of the DNA of that tree to pop up through the foundation and through the floor. And what you said about our DNA or we're here to do what we came to do, it is, I think I read someplace once about your nose. The DNA of your nose and the shape of your nose couldn't have been anything else except your nose, right? And your ear and the eyes and the color of your skin. It couldn't have been anything else but that. So if we have that clearly defined purpose here, there are circumstances and the words of other mortals who keep us from being whatever it is as clearly as the nose is on our face.
Absolutely. We have.
How do you etch sketch that? How do you get rid of all of those things that would keep your nose from being a nose? That's pressing it down, that's suppressing it, and
Chapter 5, I believe,
of the 8 pillars of lifetime.
8 pillars, and I want to tell them how they can get it because it's available for download right now. It's an ebook. They could be reading it right away. But I believe it is chapter 6 on present moment awareness, talks about identity. Part of the problem is based on our ego and our need for affirmation that we have to feed. we force ourselves into a construct that this is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
When the
Based on our ego, but before you're old enough to understand an ego, there are people around you who say things
Sure.
and who put constrictions on you. So how do you break free of that? That's before.
Well,
don't you think so?
Even before then, but there's stuff going on in us.
Right.
Who's going to if you two and I'm two, and one cookie is all broken to pieces and the other cookie is nice and pretty, which one you gonna take? You're not gonna give me the. You're gonna take the pretty cookie, probably. For the most part.
Yeah.
So we see it early on, even in ourselves. It's about me. Raising 7 children, one of the things that they had to learn is that the world is not about you.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the lesson. So when we can see ourselves as a unique part of the whole, then a shift takes place
Okay.
in our understanding.
Okay. When we say that again,
when we can see ourselves as a unique part of the whole.
Uh-huh.
I'm here because I realize that if you and I don't do things to help our society, if we don't take what we've learned and from our experiences and share with others, it's going to come back on us. So I realize that I'm a part, when my brother and my sister's hurting, I'm hurting too.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's really going to come back. So in our view, I'm in here and the world is out there, is very unhealthy. We have to see ourselves as really a part of the whole. When that happens, we don't have to prove anything to anybody at any time for any reason.
I'm talking to Pastor Roger Kelly, an author of the book, The 8 Pillars of Lifetime Sanity. Really, truly getting a perspective on who you think God is and how does your life reflect who you think God is. Does your life reflect limitations that you placed on the DNA that you came here with?
Let me be very honest. I think that it's just a tough time, at least for the people that I know, and in my sphere of influence and circle. There are just so many challenges, health, so many things are really going on. People are hurting and struggling, but I do believe that there's a light shining within, that we need to begin to be aware of that and really embrace that, because we have what we need. Grace on the one hand is unmerited favor that you didn't deserve, but grace also is the ability to do the things that you need to do. And so we have grace to be here. Somebody talked about Christians dying years ago, that how they could never do it. I said, look, whatever anybody did in history, that grace always matches the assignment. And so there's a grace for whatever is happening in anybody's life. You have grace. You have to be aware of that. You have to respond to that, and you'll make it through.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Whatever it is, and as you said, there are people who are going through so many things, and just don't be shocked by it. Don't be surprised.
And you said that earlier. That's a great point.
Yes, we got to stop being surprised that we go through things.
Well, when we realize that peace, love, joy, happiness, and contentment are really seeds in us.
Already.
We have it. And so if we're not aware of that, then the quality of our life is dependent upon external factors, which are changing
all the time.
And so again, it's about coming back and living, what I said it about the guys earlier, living from the inside out.
Living from the inside out, finding that peace that surpasses whatever it is you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
When it looks like you should be upset, but you're not upset because you understand the dynamics of what that is. And also, for me, understanding the gifts of the Holy Spirit,
Absolutely.
the gifts that God has for us. And I'm telling you, on Christmas morning, when you go under the Christmas tree, if you pick up something and it does not have your name on it, you put it back, right?
Right.
So why don't we learn to pick up the gifts that God has for us?
Mm-hmm.
All of those things that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love, joy, peace, happiness. It is His desire for us to have that.
Right.
So if we don't have it, we're living beneath what the Creator wants for us.
Because
how in the world am I going to be worried about what you want for me?
We're looking in the wrong place. I've been married.
Breath.
I've been married. Gwen and I've been married 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
We have, next year, we have 7 children, 8 grandchildren. Part of the deal is she doesn't have to make me happy. We can share happiness, but the expectations that we put on each other become problematic. So the 8 pillars of lifetime sanity.
Wait,
really,
let's get back to that happiness. She doesn't make you happy.
No, the pressure's not on her.
The pressure's not on her to
happy.
make you happy. I remember moving from one house to the next and thinking, you know, before driving through that neighborhood, thinking, oh my goodness, that house is so pretty. I would love to have that house. And once I moved into the house and I realized the only thing that really happened was I tripled my mortgage. Really, I was sitting on the steps one night going, you know what? I don't feel any differently in this house than I did the other house. So my happiness cannot be predicated on a person, place, or
external.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
anything external.
Mm-hmm.
If you think getting a husband or a wife is going to make you happy, what's going to happen?
You're going to be disappointed. I was talking to a couple some time ago, and the guy says, you know, she just doesn't make me happy, you know. And she said, you know, I'm not happy either with him, you know. And so I said to both of them, I said, wait a minute. I said, you expect her to make you happy? He said, well, yeah. I said, who told you that? You are responsible for your own happiness.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I said, you can share happiness. You can share love. But if it doesn't flow from inside, it's just not going to work. All we have is empty infatuation that moves rather quickly. So
empty infatuation. Wow. And so even with the things, that's why the tabloids exist, because the people in Hollywood have all of the trappings of happiness, fame, stardom,
right.
And there's still the stories of their
suicides, the breakups, the children commit. Yeah, it's there because we look in the wrong place. What I'm saying to you is the seed of everything you will ever need in this life is already in you. 8 Pillars of Lifetime Sanity is about how to begin to cultivate those right seeds in your life. And here's the whole point of the matter. The law of correspondence says your outer life is a mirror of your inner life. Most people who want a life change try to radically start rearranging the outside. But the truth of the matter is, if you work on the inside, then automatically the outside will be transformed. You cannot be successful with a failure mindset. You can't do it. It's got to start inside in order to.
Roger Kelly, the author of 8 Pillars of Lifetime Sanity. We need to do more of these. We need to take chapter by chapter and go through this. We could talk a long time.
Right.
We have to get going. We're going to stop at another radio station. I think we're going to have time, maybe.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
Can I just tell them how to get it?
How do they get it?
www.rogerckellyGroup.com/store. And you can go, that's my website, www.rogerckellyGroup, ROGERCKELLYGROUP, .com/store. You can download the book on your phone right now.
We will put that in.
Okay.
Yeah, the little thing there.
Okay.
Whatever, the comment.
Yeah.
Or something.
Okay.
Hey, if you're in Gainesville tonight and you'd like to join us at Coconut Salon and Barbershop on 13th Street, forgive me for not having the address in my head or having it written down right here in front of me. Roger is going to be speaking there tonight, and we're going to be doing some more interviews and more discussion because this is very, very powerful, useful information, I feel, that can help you have the best life yet. And you know what you pointed out earlier about breathing, this miracle of this breath that keeps this vessel alive. Don't take it for granted. Take many deep inhales and exhales, and as you are exhaling, release all that does not serve you, all that does not bring you the joy, peace, and harmony that is yours already.
Can I say one other thing?
Just claim it. You can say a lot of other things.
Just one. Just one.
Okay.
I appreciate you. I've watched your show, and being here with you, your passion and your love and the concern that you have for people, I sense it. So thank you for whatever price you've had to pay to stay diligent and get this done.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. You don't know the cost of the oil in my alabaster box. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will guarantee that you will be hearing from Roger again and again and again. I hope so. Also, listen to us on atthewellnessnetwork.org. And we will see you a little later on because I think I'm going to carry some of your conversation with the gentlemen in the barbershop. If the men who are there and ladies who are there are comfortable with us doing that, we're going to be talking about the challenge of domestic violence in our community. 1 in 3 women in this country experiencing some form of domestic violence or sexual assault. That's unacceptable.
That's atrocious, and it shouldn't happen.
It should not happen. It's unacceptable, and we have got to start from the inside. And we're going to start that conversation tonight. Hope you will join us. I'm Pamela Coombs at the Wellness Radio TV. Remember, there is healing at the well. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Mr. Roger.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir.